Доброго дня усім.
We start our first briefing for today, coordination of investigation and creation of memorial space at the Heavenly 100 Avenue in Kyiv. Our guest is Sergiy Gorbatiuk, Director of Special Investigations Department, Prosecutor General's Office, Volodymyr Head of the Ukrainian Institute of National Memory, Igor Poshyvailo, Director General of the National Memorial Complex of Heavenly 100 Heroes, Museum of the Revolution, Dignity, and Natalia Boykiv, Deputy Head of NGO Family of Heavenly 100 Heroes. Welcome. Good afternoon. We are going to speak today about the memory of Maidan, the events of 2013, 2014, and for us, the Institute of National Memory, from the very start, the recording and the memorialization of this memory is one of the main activities of our institute. Starting in 2014, we started implementation of the project connected with Maidan, and we have 2,000 interviews we took throughout Ukraine, and also we were able to publish 3 books, the memoirs of participants of Euromaidan, and this is only a part of our work, and we will continue this work, and we will have this video archive on the internet, and it will be provided for the scientists and here in Ukraine and abroad, and it will be used in publications and in films. Also, we record those places connected with the events of the Revolution of Dignity, and we started established information stands connected with the Revolution of Dignity. They are called the places of the Revolution of Dignity, and we create the Museum of the Revolution of Dignity, and we also have many achievements. We've created the legal person. We created a team headed by Igor Poshyvailo, and one of the achievements of this museum, and director of this museum, Igor Poshyvailo, will tell us about this more. There was a contest for the memorial and the museum complex that will be established on the Avenue of Heavenly 100 Heroes. This memory, these recordings, this is necessary to commemorate the heroes who died, and we Ukrainians, we need this memory, and this can become a preventive measure in order not to return to such events, and our fight for democracy continues. And we should remember those events that happened in Maidan in 2013, 2014. These events should inspire us in order to move ahead. And also, investigation plays an important role. Investigation on those who caused the death of Heavenly 100 Heroes, and we understand the importance of this. And the Ukrainian society wants to get the truth, what happened in those days in February 2014. And both components, both investigation and memory of Maidan, they are both important for Ukrainian society. And it is a crime to choose whether it should be results of investigation or the memory of those who died. We held a meeting with the representatives of the prosecutor's office, with Sergiy Gorbatiuk, who had a special structure in the prosecutor's office that investigates events connected with the Maidan and killing and Heavenly 100 Heroes. And we coordinate our efforts with them, and I am convinced that this is really important both for us and for society on the whole, and we were ready to agree on this. And now I give the floor to my colleagues, Sergiy Gorbatiuk, then Igor Poshyvailo, and we are going to tell you about our agreement and how we plan to work further. In order to include two important components, both investigation and memory, in order that both of these components achieve good results. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to stress that Prosecutor's office and prosecutors they are not against construction of the Revolution of Dignity, and we do not want to create obstacles for this. But the main task we should collect evidence in order that those people who are guilty in the death of protesters, that those people were brought to justice, and in order that those results of court hearings were not doubtful. And one of the main evidence and investigative actions should be carried out on the site where these crimes happened, these wounds were made, and there should be proper examination and proper hearing of witnesses, and a lot of time has passed, and people say that now these they say that these investigations were not made, but in all those cases of wounds and killings, if we take for consideration the events of the 20th of February, all these examinations were made. So some information is limited concerning videotapes, and if some new evidence appear, we need to carry out new investigations, or maybe some examinations were not done correctly, didn't take all evidence. So this work was organized in the course of investigation in 2015, 2016, when the materials were brought to court, and then during the court hearings, and there were some investigations and experiments, and they are ongoing now. So as of today, we organized final examinations based on videos and evidence provided by witnesses, in order to remove all drawbacks and to bring this work to an end. And there is a need to preserve this locality, relief of the Institutska Street where these killings were made. And we do not want to ban the construction, but the decision was brought to ban this construction because investigative actions continue. And we will have these experiments now, and according to the plan of the investigators, it will take about 2 months, even less. We plan to complete these investigative actions in 3 months. At the same time, it should be noted that, and I provided this information in the media, it would be good before court hearing ends, and you know that 5 Berkut men, when their cases are heard in the Svetoshinsky court. And the second issue, we create 3D model of Institutska Street, and we will be able to complete these works earlier, and in this way this ban will be lifted to continue with this construction work. So about 3D model of Institutska Street where killings were made. So this model will recreate this events, and if some other investigation actions will be needed, we will be able to use computer technology and to carry out this investigative action. So this work continues for 2 years. And the lack of powerful computers results in the fact that this 3D model is still not created. So this work should be done in 3 months. So we should buy powerful computers, and this will help to do this work faster. Another part, using this opportunity to bring information to you, I would like to say that those investigations, after they completed and the work will be started, so the Institutska Street may be changed. So I address the lawyers if there are some petitions for further investigations, further on-site investigations. So please, during this time of 3 months, you can address prosecutor or investigators in order to carry out these investigative actions, in order not to have some manipulations in the future that someone tried to impede the establishment of truth concerning the persecution of those who were guilty. So lastly, I would like to say that our main task is to get evidence for courts, and also it is important to commemorate the victims and to create memorial complex and a museum. And our joint discussion of this issue, it has such an order of first carrying out investigative actions, then construction works, and this will help us to take into account all the components to complete these investigations and not to impede the implementation of the plan of the construction of the memorial complex. Thank you, Sergey. So Igor Poshyvailo maybe will give us more details about the construction of the memorial and the museum. Thank you. Good afternoon. I would like to remind that on the 27th of June, the international contest was completed for the construction of the memorial and the museum for Heavenly 100 Heroes. It was started last year, and it was carried out by order of the ministry on the request of the Cabinet of Ministers, and by the order of Cabinet of Ministers we were established as a customer, and we carry out works in order to start the implementation of the project. And this is the project. We established the winner. The winner was established in 2018. Natalia Prosecutor were the winners. Now the works are ongoing, project works are ongoing, and the road map is established, and in October the works will start. The works of development and the construction of the Heavenly 100 Heroes Avenue, and the coordination of joint efforts is really of importance now, and we cooperate with the Prosecutor's General Office and all those events that we carried out to provide information stands. All this was done in cooperation. We understood that investigation experiments continue, and it is really important to provide opportunities for successful completion of pre-trial investigation, and our institution, maybe as other institutions in the sphere, we are interested in unbiased investigation and also in punishment for those who are guilty in crimes against participants of Maidan. So this investigation we had some works before, but now we do not carry out any works that impede investigation. Now we develop the project of memorial space in the Avenue of Heavenly 100 Heroes, and the places where people died, the places that have some marks from bullets. Now they are the memorials of local importance, and our task is to preserve them not only for investigative experiments but also for the future. In the context of the works, the memorial will be opened on the 20th of February 2019 to mark the anniversary of the events. Society now discuss this issue, and we deliver information campaign and scientific work, and this memorial space, it corresponds the world trends. Last week at the International Architecture Festival, an open air, the processes connected with preservation of memory were discussed, connected with the creation of memorial and the memorial of in the United States and 9/11 and Heavenly 100 Heroes memorials were discussed there. So this memorial cross and stela that were removed, and now we take responsibility to preserve all things that were on Maidan for future generations, and this is our task as a museum. So we should punish those who are guilty, and we should preserve the memory of those who died. So this will be to continue the memory about those people who gave their life for freedom. And for me, I understand the difficulty of these processes, and we understand the request of society for the completion of the investigation and the preservation of the memory of those who died. So all the interested parties, they have constructive dialogue, and it will lead to the good results and will satisfy the demands of civil society. Heavenly 100 Heroes families actively participate in the processes, and we observe the investigation. And now we give the floor to the representative of this organization, Natalia Boykiv. Good afternoon, everyone. Unfortunately, time moves fast. We have the 5th anniversary now, and we would like to have better results, to say that people were punished, and we complete the construction, and Ukraine moves and develops fast in the direction of European integration for what Maidan fought for, and our relatives died. But unfortunately, this meeting is about another thing. Our organization was created. The first priority was to help investigation. Unfortunately, as of today, we have 2 real verdicts in case of Didich and in case of Veremey Slavko. I would like to note that if not for Galina Didich, who attended all court hearings, and Katerina Veremey also attended, so if they won't participate, so these and Christian would be freed if not the actions of these people. So we are dissatisfied with the Prosecutor's General Office work. They promised that they will help, but as of today, what we have, the Department of Special Investigations, it is liquidated, and what investigation and how it will continue, it is not so easy for us. I would like to address, and we will address officially, in order that they help us, and they should buy powerful computers in order to create 3D model for further investigations and examinations, and to present materials in courts in order not to have problems with court hearings against Berkut officers. Also, we should commemorate our loved ones. When you go along the alley, when you look at the photos, and they look at us from these photos, it is really difficult. And I hope that these actions will be combined, both the actions of the Prosecutor's Office and the Museum of the Revolution of Dignity, and we hope that Prosecutor General's Office will be able to carry out this investigation timely, and we hope for timely construction. So when these additional examinations will be made, we ask you to be careful when this to remove this memorial carefully, because in order to give it to museum, and also to help in the restoration of the cross, because this is a symbol of Maidan. It is in a rather difficult condition. It is split, and we should provide the restoration of this cross in order to preserve it in the museum. Also, what I want to say, I would like to address to everyone on whom these actions are depend. So many parents die. Please pay attention to this. And we want that people be able to come to these places to cry, to remember their loved ones, because we understand that time flies so fast. Thank you. I would like to say that we understand that the memory about fallen heroes and the truth about the killers, this is what our society demands the information about this. That's why we hold this press conference, and we will continue our cooperation. Thank you. Good afternoon, Channel 24. I have a question to Sergiy. What is your opinion about this case? So why this department was cancelled, and why it was reformed in some sort of other department of the Prosecutor's General Office? So we had a department where investigators and prosecutors worked in order to focus on these important criminal cases investigation. Now we have separately investigative department, what I was appointed, and also prosecutors department. They are in separate department that was created, this is additional influence on those people who take decision on criminal investigations, because we repeatedly, I personally and investigators and prosecutors, we didn't allow to intervene illegally in investigation of criminal proceedings, and there were some petitions on crimes, and this decision was dictated by this. At the same time, I would like to say that investigators and prosecutors, they are working on the cases, they continue their work, and the heads of the departments, and the attitude remains the same towards the investigation. They want to bring the guilty to responsibility, and if there are some attempts of legal influence, we will bring this information to society and we'll be waiting for your help. Thank you, dear journalists. Please focus on the issue of cooperation between investigative group and the Museum of Maidan in order not to go out of this topic. Alexander Sergiy, Ukrainian news. I have a question about investigative actions on the Institutska Street. Do I understand correctly that these experiments will start today and will continue for 3 months, and whether they end until the end of October, if some construction works are going to start on the alley? Yes, they will start. So 3 months, this is taking into account all unexpected things. Investigators and experts from the courts, they joined their efforts, and we discussed the order of investigative actions, and we've planned to do this in 1 month. So we hope that this will happen, because everyone is interested in providing help. So there are many objective reasons that can influence, and some experiments were made on the request of courts, and they delayed the completion of those experiments. That's why we have additional time, but we hope to complete these works in a limited time. And the temporary memorial and cross, they will be temporarily removed to carry out these actions, and this information should be brought to society. So this is a temporary action in order to carry out investigative actions on the site where people died. Thank you. Yes, we start today, but I cannot tell you about the exact time. And in the court, the deputy head of the Museum of the Revolution of Dignity. So, taking into account the importance of 3D model of the street you've mentioned, I would like to ask, what are the reasons why the special powerful computers, why they were not bought, and maybe you didn't provide requests to get them, maybe some tender procedures were not made to buy them. We would like to know exact reason why these computers were not bought. And what is the situation as of today? Do you have the opportunity to buy this computer equipment, and whether such 3 models will be made in order to bring this investigation to an end? In order to create 3D model, first, this is the footage of this locality from quadrocopter, and from the bottom with the special equipment it was done, as I remember, at the end of 2015, and the beginning of 2016. Then this model should be worked on by the specialists and with the use of powerful computers. And we have a specialist, and he raised this question of buying the equipment, and we had a more powerful computer, but she did this work for the first time, and we believe that this will be enough. The main problem, I do not know about technical details, and there were some works done on this model, and it takes time. So this work was carried out, but now we came to a conclusion that we need more equipment, and this work will be carried out for 1 year. And taking into account the necessity of completion of this work, if we would like to do this work faster, we need this new equipment. So also, we had many requests, and I sent many requests to Prosecutor General's office for this equipment and for other things in cases, and they were not taken into account. So I hope that this problem will be resolved in the nearest future, and we will get this necessary equipment. The next question, please. Alexandra Timoshenko, head of NGO, Neskoreний Maidan 18. I have a question. Why I'm not in Darnitsky court against Kharkivsky Berkut officer and against Captain Shapovalov in another court. And I want to understand the questions of this cooperation speaking mentioned, and Igor Poshyvailo was provided with some photos, and we also cooperate with the Institute of National Memory, Viatrovych, and there are materials that can be used, and they can bring this memory about these events. Also about Sergiy Gorbatiuk. You also cooperated with us, and I met and spent a lot of time in your study, and in order to take care of the drawbacks we've mentioned. And I participate in 4 criminal cases, and we have participants of our NGO who participate in 5 criminal investigations. Some of us died. Those who are speaking about the cases of the on the cases of the 18th of February. So we speak about many procedural difficulties. I, as a participant and as a victim, we want to live until this verdict. We want to see this, that these people who are guilty, that they are punished. So your investigation so your department is new, and you had this department, and maybe there are some fake gossips that prosecutors that carry out procedural actions, that they are outside of staff. Maybe some lawyers may say that they cannot take these materials. For example, I took part in 150 court hearings, but 1/3 were cancelled or delayed. So maybe these actions will continue further in connection with this investigation. I would like to inform the society that everyone were reappointed, the prosecutors and investigators. Some of them are out of staff, and in the majority of court hearings, the advocates, they raised these issues, and the problem was created in Pechersk court. They rejected the petition from investigators and prosecutor's office. If they should have confirmed that they were reappointed. I also expressed this opinion. This reorganization, it didn't provide improvement in the work. It created only obstacles. And this decision, I believe, is wrong. And I can assure you that all were reappointed, so there's no doubts in legitimacy of prosecutors and investigators' actions. And about the cooperation, I would like to add the question to Igor Poshyvailo. You've said that in a year they plan to carry out some works. But after each court hearing, this is our case, and we go to the alley in order to pray near the cross that will be removed. So we pray there, and we see cars there, and you know about the situation where city administration doesn't do anything in order to help us to pray there. Those failed flowers, they should be removed, and the snow in the winter should be removed from there. So communal power should help us to commemorate the victims. So that's why the museum is created, in order to provide order in this alley, in order to provide opportunity to people to commemorate the memory. Now processes are ongoing, and the processes, we have transition period, memorial complex will take responsibility for what is going on in order to provide a good memory. Question to Sergiy Gorbatiuk. Tell us, please, at the start of your activity, when 2 years ago, your structure was formed, Mr. Lutsenko took a lot of cases on top officials. Whether these cases were completed, whether they were sent to court? Yes, we had such a situation. This is about the cases on Boykiv's drills and Zlochevsky case, Mezhegyry, Sokoluch, Zakharchenko, Constitutional Court case, Klimenko's suspicion. So there are some results on Klimenko's case, but not in the case of Boyka. So Zlochevsky's case was closed. Mezhegyry, Sukhaluch, these cases were taken away from us, and they were ready for courts. But some procedures there were some problems in legislation because this court decisions may be considered as illegal by the European Court, and some cases were sent to court, and the work was done, but the changes were not made in legislation concerning the court hearings in absentia. During 2.5 years, we served the charge concerning the deputy minister, and in case of Kholnitsky, the case was considered, and there were some conclusions that Maidan participants shoot at each other, but now the Alpha officers are blamed, and so we have such a situation in this area. Lisa Galovata, 5th channel. I have a question to Sergiy Gorbatiuk. Tell us, please, about technical side of the experiment. Whether 5 Berkut officers will participate in this examination, because they are accused of killing many people. So what is the scale of this experiment? And people say that time limits were overcome. So whether this territory will be circled, and whether the Berkut officers will show where they are when these shootings were made. Thank you. About the organization, if investigative actions take place, so there will be some encirclement for several hours of Institutska Street, And we will involve law enforcers, police officers, in order that they say that to people that they should not come to this place. And the investigation experiments will be carried out in some ways. Some victims will be involved, so in places where these shootings were made. Whether some witnesses could see some things, whether they faced some circumstances. So I cannot tell you about the plan of actions of these examinations. About the courts, the court satisfied the petition on investigative examinations, and the last one is until March. They should have been carried out until March. So only part of examinations were made to establish exact places. Up to 1 second, if we are speaking about geographical location of the death. This work was done, excluding some instances. As of now, these examinations are made in the framework of investigation because the court didn't continue, starting from March. It didn't continue this experiment. It wasn't done on a full scale. There were many objective and subjective reasons. Some violations in the organization were made, some experts or services were not, and weather conditions were not good, but a lot has been done, and we are speaking about the terms now. So taking into account all those circumstances, we see that no subjective reasons will contribute, and it is important to temporarily remove this monument to Heavenly 100 for these actions. I do not hear the question. So these materials were provided to the defenders. We do not know whether they agree, but if yes, they will participate in these examinations. Could you tell us about the number of these investigative examinations and what do you forecast in this area if some evidence are lacking or some other circumstances exist? As I remember, we have 15-20 experiments, and investigators plan to carry out all 48 examinations. And some examinations with the wounded, it's rather difficult. There are many people who do not attend court hearings. Some people said, we won't come, don't ask us about this. So here there may be some problems with examinations. So using this opportunity, I would like to say that the wounded will be invited, and we understand that you are tired of these investigations, but please find time and come in order to complete those investigative actions and in order not to postpone the construction of the memorial. Last month at the same hall they presented 3D model of what was going on in Maidan, only concerning 3 people, ITU Research and Carnegie Mellon Institute. They created reconstructed 3D Igor Dmitriev, the Dalovich and Yuri Parashuk killings were reconstructed in the 3D model, and this work was done, and whether it can provide evidence in those cases. This work was done professionally with exact coordinates, but it was done not by Ukrainian specialists. And how does it correlate with Ukrainian criminal code? They tried to take this into account, but there can be some problems. So all evidence are considered complex and decisions are taken by court. The only thing how it is perceived by the judge, by the jury, if it is confirmed by scientific method, it gives proper impression and can be a powerful evidence. The only thing about the process, the criminal process envisages the use of specialists. If a court takes the documents about their proper qualification and the possibility to provide such opinion. So I believe that these materials, this evidence can be provided to courts. On the whole, our work on 3D model, it started not only to create a 3D model of Institutska Street for the future. It was done in 2015, and the General Prosecutor's Office concluded the contract with the specialist in order to create a 3D model where the victims are placed and those who shoot, and then the complex. We should have done this, but there was a reduction, and in November we've planned to take 2 more computer specialists, but in November 2016 our departments were reorganized, and we were not able to take 2 more specialists, and this work was delayed. But we plan to end this work, to complete it, and the court concerning 5 people, and we have also 21 people who should be brought to court, and this work is needed, and this work is ongoing to bring these people to justice. Thank you. Mr. Gorbatiuk, I have a question. You said that this evidence, these examinations will be checked by court, and the Svetoshensky court, about 100 victims, out of them in 3 years 25 interviews were made with them, and you had the prosecutors, and they carried out examinations in those places. Are you ready to be responsible for the fact that out of these 24, 5 court hearings were stopped because there was no voices or a picture on those videos? And the defender said to us that, well, this is not the examination that can be considered by court because there is no proper sound, and there is no proper picture. So, and how these evidence will be considered by the European court if they are not of proper quality? So we have our drawbacks, and some investigative actions are not done properly, and we try to correct our mistakes, and we teach prosecutors and investigators. So there are some instances, and this is the task of the prosecutors and investigators. If there is a loss of evidence due to technical reasons, there should be a proper complex of evidence that can establish the guilty and to ask the judge to bring a guilty verdict. And about the cases of the 20th of February. So if additional actions are needed, they should be carried out. And in 3 months, we have a task in all episodes, killings or inflicting of injury cases. So all investigative experiments, they should be carried out. And if there are some problems with these actions, additional examinations should be done, including in cases of killing of law enforcers, in order not to lose the opportunity to carry out these investigative actions in the Institutska Street that exists now. Thank you. Dear colleagues, we end our press briefing. If there are no further questions, please, and if you have additional questions, please put them off records.